What's up, people? Joe Winko here, your favorite Hawaiian guy, and here's my next episode of Joe Winko Talk. This is gonna definitely kind of be a gloomy episode of Joe Winko Talk in a way, but it's not gonna be really sad at all. It's not my intention to make it sad. I don't want to make anyone sad at all, but it definitely is gonna be personal, though. Definitely a personal episode, however. And also, first I want to say is don't let this video alarm you at all, or don't let anything I say in this video like alarm you or freak you out at all. I know I've been talking about a lot of gloomy stuff in my episodes of Joe Winko Talk lately, but in all honesty, things in my life are actually going very good right now. Because as I said numerous times, I'm not going to become homeless because my adoptive parents are sending me down south to live with relatives very, 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 very soon. And I'm gonna get to leave Wisconsin forever, like I always wanted to. And I'm not going to become homeless either, at least not anytime soon, and hopefully I never do. And I'm going to keep getting my insulin, and I don't have to die at all, and will not die anytime soon. And as I said also, the point of my YouTube channel is to get to know me, and I've just been talking about the gloomy stuff just to get my story out there, really, my life story and everything, and to share with everyone what goes on inside my head and what I believe and what goes on inside my head and my view and my perspective on everything, so everyone understands. That's the main point of all these videos, really. Of all my videos on YouTube, even my Sims 2 stuff, because that shows you what's going on inside my head. And however, a lot of the stuff I've been saying in my videos, and definitely the stuff I'm going to be saying in this one, may seem a bit whack and a bit crazy, and I definitely understand how everything I say can be a bit crazy and a bit whack. But just remember what I said. Don't let any of this stuff alarm you at all. It's just details from my life, really, and facts from my life also. So, as I said earlier in one of my previous episodes of Joe Winko Talk, which I'll have the link to in the pinned comments, one of my past psychiatrists believed that I might have, like, in addition to my other mental illnesses that I have, they believe that I might have a paranoid schizophrenia. That's what one of my past psychiatrists believe. But I was never officially diagnosed at all. Never, by no one. And as a matter of fact, my current psychiatrist that I have now, she told me that she's 110% sure that I do not have paranoid schizophrenia at all. She's definitely sure that I don't. And what she just thinks is, she thinks that my autism that I have causes me to have a very, very strong and very, very powerful imagination, and causes my imagination to become so intense and that it appears to be real sometimes. That's what she said, because I never see like random stuff that I have no connection to at all, but that's what she told me because I don't see like random stuff or believe in like stuff that's like extremely far out there and everything. Well, this definitely seems far out there, but when I told it to her, she wasn't like she didn't think that it was too obscure or anything. But yeah. So the reason why my past psychiatrist thought I had paranoid schizophrenia was because of my sleep paralysis. And I did an episode of Joe Winko Talk, and I'll have a link about that in the pinned comments, because of the visions of my biological father during my sleep paralysis, and those were terrifying. And also dreams about my twin brother who passed away, rest in peace, Crystal. And also visions of my uncle Mario, and dreams about him too. I'll have a link about them in the pinned comments because I did a episode of Joe Winko talk about my uncle or Mario too. And also because I was having visions of tornadoes, and those only happened after a psychic told me I was going to be killed by a tornado, and I'll have a link to that in the pinned comments. But that's not going to happen because I'm not going to become homeless this year. And also those visions of the tornado stopped, as I talked about in my one episode of Joe Winko Talk, one of my previous ones I did for William Norton, a friend who's always by my side. Even to this day, he will forever be my friend. This episode of Joe Winko Talk, however, is going to be what I believe will happen to me after either, I'm not sure how to word this, but like when I die or right after I die. That's what it's going to be about. Not like how I'm going to die, but like when I die, what's going to happen after I cross over and pass away right after. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be talking about in this episode. And as I said earlier, I do not plan on dying anytime soon because my adoptive parents are sending me down south to live with relatives, but you guys know all that already because I already said it so many times. So, as you guys should know if you've been following my videos, I lived with my uncle Romario, my only biological family member who I ever knew in my whole entire life, who I met when I was 12 years old. We lived together in the Dominican Republic from December of 2007 to January of 2010. And it was just me and my uncle Romario that whole entire time. Those are very, very nice days. I miss those days so much. And my uncle Romario was a great man. He was my best friend ever, and I really, really, really miss him to this day, even years after. But as you all know, he went into a coma from brain cancer in January of 2010, and that's when I had to go back and live with my adoptive parents in Wisconsin. And he was in the coma for almost 3 years, and I finally found out that he had finally passed away in October of 2012. And I was really devastated, and still devastated about it to this day. But back when I lived with him, one thing I noticed about him was he had these drawings, and he drew them himself because he did like drawing a lot too. I never really went and talked about that much, but he did like drawing from time to time. And he had all these pictures that he drew. I could tell he drew them himself. It was these pictures of this really muscular man with this very like muscular and buff man with this beard and a mustache, and he had this like powerful look on his face in all the drawings. And this man was wearing a crown too, and he was holding a trident. He was always holding a trident, and a trident is like it's like a pitchfork almost, but I'll have a picture of it. Here's a picture of a trident for those of you guys who might not know that thing. I'm pretty sure you guys seen that before, but in case you didn't know the name, I just felt like showing it anyway. And I always saw those pictures, those drawings around his house all the time when I lived with him, and I just never really asked him about them or talked to him about them. It was just like, I did think they were really cool, but I just never talked to him about them. Like, you know when you see stuff and you think it's really cool, but you never, like, ask about it or anything? You just admire it, and that's it. That's exactly how it was, really. And, later on, after my uncle passed away, and after I found out that he passed away, when I was online, because I spend a lot of time on my computer, I discovered that character again sometime after my uncle's death online, and it definitely was online, but I'm not exactly sure where I first saw him afterwards, after all that. I think where I first saw him was when I was on Google Maps and looking up beaches and everything, and when I looked up Virginia Beach, and then I found the picture of the statue of the character at Virginia Beach. But I could have discovered him again like earlier between then and that. That character is actually named King Neptune, and he's actually a Roman god. He is the god of the sea and fresh water. That's what the Wikipedia page about him told me. And there's a statue of him at Virginia Beach that I always wanted to visit because, as you guys all know, I cannot live without the beach. I love going to the beach. And another thing is, I love taking road trips too. And I talked about the King Neptune. I definitely mentioned him in my Adventurous Aspirations episode of Joe Winko Talk when I was describing all the places I wanted to take road trips to. I'll have a link to that in the pinned comments as well. I'm still looking for someone to take me on those road trips. Hopefully I end up finding it. Hopefully this video doesn't scare them away. And there's also another statue of him in Atlantic City, New Jersey. I think so, but yeah, I remember seeing that online, like reading about that online, but I want to go visit that too on the way. That'd be really fun. And when my uncle passed away, when I found out that my uncle had passed away, how I found out was the hospital called my home phone, and they told me that my uncle Romario had passed away, and they told me that he had been cremated and his ashes were scattered into the Atlantic Ocean. And I feel as even before then, I always felt that I was spiritually connected to the Atlantic Ocean. Like even while my uncle was still alive and I was living in the Dominican Republic, because the Dominican Republic is in the Atlantic Ocean. It's like near the Gulf of Mexico, but it is like near the Atlantic Ocean. And I absolutely am spiritually connected to the Atlantic Ocean. And I also feel that I'm spiritually connected to Interstate 95. That's a huge, that's a really long interstate road that runs from Maine to Florida, all along the east coast of the USA. I did an episode of Joe Winko talk about that too. That's another road trip that I always wanted to go on. Something I always wanted to do, road trip up and down I-95 from Maine to Florida. I'll have the link to that in the pinned comments. And that's another reason why I prefer to live by the East Coast instead, because I don't want to live out west. The west is too far away from everything. But my uncle Romario, technically his resting place is the Atlantic Ocean. And whenever I'm near the Atlantic Ocean, like if I go to Florida or visit the Carolinas, or if I were to visit New London, Connecticut, or Virginia, or any of those places, I always would feel very close to him, really. Like I'm there with him. Not like 100% with him, but like I'm nearby, and that he's nearby, because he is nearby. And I know I mentioned this in another episode of Joe Winko Talk. I mentioned that I wanted my ashes, like after I die, I want to be cremated, and I wanted my ashes scattered into the Ohio River. There's reasons why, but I'm not going to explain those in this video. There's reasons why I want to be scattered into the Ohio River, because I definitely have a spiritual connection to the Ohio River for many different reasons. And also, the river does end up flowing into the Atlantic Ocean. Not directly, not like directly like the Ohio River and here's the Atlantic Ocean, because it splits up into two rivers and they go into the Atlantic Ocean, or they flow to the Gulf of Mexico or something. But, well, the Gulf of Mexico is technically part of the Atlantic Ocean. But all rivers, and in the USA and probably everywhere else, all rivers are connected to the ocean. Either, like, directly or indirectly, because they turn into another named river that flows into the ocean. but all rivers do connect to the oceans. That's how they all are. And another thing was, I always thought that King Neptune was very fascinating. Like, I always been fascinated by King Neptune, and I always thought he was really interesting, just like how you would like a superhero, just like how a kid would like a cartoon or a superhero character or the Power Rangers. That's how I feel about King Neptune. I always thought he was very, very fascinating. And I, I remember first seeing him again and imagining him over and over again and kind of becoming obsessed, because that's what my autism mind kind of tends to have me do, become obsessed and intense interest in stuff. That's the first thing that comes up when you look up Asperger's or autism. And somehow my imagination just drummed this all up, this whole fantasy or scenario. I definitely believe that it's real, and it's gonna sound crazy, but this, I don't know where exactly this came from, but my whole autism mind drummed this up, and it just slowly faded into my mind, kind of out of nowhere, really. I believe that right after I die, what's gonna happen is, like, my spirit will exit my body, and I'll see my body, like, I'll see where I am right now, where I had died, and I'll see my body laying there, like, lifeless and everything. I know it's gloomy, but that's what I believe. And then I think right away, King Neptune will then appear, and I'll see him, and he'll be there, and I'll see him. And then he'll hold out his hand, and I'll take his hand, and then, like, we'll float, and he'll, like, guide me, like, we'll float and drift far away, and he'll guide me to the Atlantic Ocean, and he'll guide me through the Atlantic Ocean, and we will go find he will guide me through the Atlantic Ocean to find my uncle, and because he knows, I think he knows where my uncle is out there, because the Atlantic Ocean's pretty big, not as big as the Pacific, but it is still big nonetheless. And he'll guide me to where my uncle is, and he'll reunite me with my Uncle Mario. And then after we're reunited, then me and him, my Uncle Mario, will drift away into heaven, and me and him will be together forever then in the afterlife. The same one I talked about in my last episode of Joe Winko Talk. That's what I've always believed. Well, that's what I've started believing ever since I discovered King Neptune again, a little time ago. Now, I know that all sounds crazy, but I definitely understand how people might think, what? Why are you thinking of that? You're nuts. What the hell is wrong with you? So yeah, I know how that sounds crazy, but I honestly believe that that's absolutely true. And again, don't let this alarm you. I don't plan on dying anytime soon, as I said, because first of all, there's so much more stuff I have to do, that I want to do here, and there's so much more stuff I want to explain on Joe Winko Talk, seriously. And also, I am religious. I was raised Catholic when you're a little kid, and I went to a Catholic school for 7 years. When you're a little kid and you have people telling you that stuff, you'll believe everything. But eventually, as you grow up and you hear what other people believe and you hear what other people think, eventually you don't really know what to believe, really, because everyone says stuff that's completely different, and then you learn stuff about what you were believing, and it's all, like, really whack, and you were like, what? They believe in that too? What? And, however, overall, I definitely believe that there is a God, and I definitely believe that God is real. However, I think he's much more lenient than what people think. This may seem kind of weird, but I always try to put myself in God's position, like when I'm playing The Sims, and I see how my Sims act and everything, and I never gotten, like, really pissed off at a Sim for doing something bad. Like, if the game was glitching up, yeah, I'd get mad about that if it was crashing or something, but I never got mad at a Sim for doing something bad. Like, sometimes I would get annoyed, but I never got mad and said, oh, I'm gonna condemn you to eternal suffering, but No, I never felt that way about a sim before. But yeah, that, as I was saying, because of that, I feel that God is much more lenient, and like how people say that gay people are going to hell, and as you all know, I'm actually gay myself. If you seriously couldn't tell, I don't think that's true. I don't think God cares at all about that or a lot of other stuff too. And another thing I know is the commandments. I don't really remember all of them, but I remember one other commandment. I remember more commandments besides this, but the first commandment was that God said was, do not put other gods before me, or do not worship other gods before me. But it may seem like it, but I'm not worshiping like King Neptune. I'm not putting him before our God that we have. I'm not putting him before God himself at all. And I'm not saying that King Neptune is God himself. If he actually is, I'm sorry if he actually is. But I'm not saying that King Neptune is actually God at all. I don't know if he actually is. And I'm not putting him before the actual God. But I honestly feel that King Neptune is just another creation of God, like all the angels. Like God created King Neptune, and like he created my uncle Romario, my only biological relative, who is a very special friend and very special person in my life, and also like he created me, and everyone else, and everyone watching this video too. And the thing is, people believe in all kinds of religions, and they say everything. They'll say anything, and I heard like people's theories on how the world started, like involving religion and supernatural stuff. Some of them are like what? They think that happened, and some of them are way out there. And like even like my Sky Woman story about how the world started, the one I made with Simpose1, I'll have a link to that in the pinned comments too. And people actually believe that. The Native Americans believed that story. That's how that story came about. But that's my point. Like, it all comes from what people either said, what people either imagined, or what people witnessed for real a long, long time ago. And it gets passed down like that. That's what it is. Like, from what people said, like people just say random stuff, what people imagined, or what people witnessed that was real. But however, like among all this religious stuff, I definitely believe that something throughout all these religions, I don't know, but I definitely believe that something throughout all these religions is real. I definitely believe that. I just don't know what is real and what isn't real and what's true and what isn't true. But I definitely do believe in a God, and I definitely do believe that he created Earth and life and everything as we know it. And I also believe in scientific stuff too. Like in case, well, I'm a millennial, so what the hell do you guys expect? But I do believe in God, though, and I think he's behind all that as well. And there's also scientific proof that God exists too. And I'm also sure that there's plenty of people who actually do also believe that King Neptune is real as well. So I'm pretty sure there's people out there who believe in King Neptune. Do you guys believe in King Neptune? What do you believe about him? Oh gosh, I know that's just gonna attract some trolls who's gonna type some ridiculous random stuff that they don't actually mean at all just to make fun of what I'm talking about, but please do not do that, seriously. But that's actually where all this religious stuff starts from what someone says. But however, I don't think that King Neptune is like the official Grim Reaper. I don't think he goes and takes everyone, like, oh, that person just died, they're gonna see King Neptune, or oh, that person dies, they're gonna see King Neptune. I do not believe in that at all. Yeah, King Neptune probably appears to other people would appear to other people for different reasons, and yeah, he probably would take someone away who has passed away or something. King Neptune would come for them and take them away. Like, not everyone, but probably someone else or some other person who had some other reason for King Neptune specifically to take them. But I think when I say that King Neptune's gonna take me away, I'm thinking specifically of myself, not of like everyone, that everyone gets taken by King Neptune or guided away by King Neptune. But I think that specifically of myself, like my own thing. But he might be involved with other people, but I definitely feel that he could be involved. Definitely could be involved with other people, but I think King Neptune for myself to take me away. I hope that made sense. It's kind of, I know that explanation was a bit contradicting, but yeah, I hope you guys get what I'm saying when I say that. So I also feel that my Uncle Romario spirit is close to me. Like, he's definitely, a part of him is definitely with me all the time. He's definitely by my side all the time. But it's just that he's not 100% with me. Like, even though he's by my side all the time, it still feels like he's very, very, very far away. And I know that doesn't really make sense, but it's hard to explain. It's almost like having a distant relative that you love and miss so much, and you want to see them again, but like you can't, and like you know that they're thinking of you, and you're thinking of them, and you know they're thinking of you, and you know you miss them, and you know that you love them, and you know that they love you, and they know that you know that they miss you, and technically you guys are together and are by each other's side, but not physically, like spread apart. And you know that they love and miss you so much, and you guys want to see each other again, but something is stopping you from seeing them. Well, what's stopping me from seeing my Uncle Mario, like, and being with him 100%, is that he's not alive anymore, but that doesn't mean that he's, like, gone entirely and doesn't exist. He definitely does still exist, and he definitely does still live on. All people live on. All, like, people after they die, they all live on, like, spirits and everything. But it's just not like he's alive and with me, really. I hope you guys understand that. And as I mentioned earlier, I have had visions of my Uncle Mario and dreams of my Uncle Mario, and some of those dreams and visions have been very intense and very realistic. And I've had visions of him with me and telling me that he's always with me and that he misses me and everything, and that he's always really close. And I have visions of me hugging him and looking him into the eye, and he feels and he looks so real, and he looks and feels like so alive and everything. But it's still not the same as having him alive for real and being with him again entirely. It feels like it still feels, even during those visions, even like the really intense ones, still feels like he's very, very, very far away, like very far away, like out of arm's reach, even if he may be in the vision, but like in reality, he's like out of arm's reach, but part of him is always with me, though. Like, part of him is, but not all of him, but just part of him, his spirit is always following me and watching over me. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of like, what? I don't get what you're saying here, but I'm just trying to explain it the best I can. I'm having a tough time explaining it. But that's why I feel that when I die, King Neptune will guide me out through the Atlantic Ocean to find him, and me and my Uncle Mario will be together again, entirely, 100%, like, completely together again, just as we were before when he was alive. And, again, I do not plan on dying anytime soon, because I'm excited to move down south, and also, I know he will wait for me also, and I know he misses me, and I really miss him too, and I know he thinks about me a lot, and I always think about him, always think about him. But for him, he won't be waiting too long, really, like, because your perspective, I believe your perspective on time and how much time passes is different, because souls and spirits, they last for eternity. They live on forever. So he has so much time, so it won't feel like it's too long for him. That's what I mean. And what I'm gonna explain and describe next might be quite troubling and alarming to some of you. But as I said earlier, do not let this video alarm you. It's all about my visions that I have had. That's what this is. Like, nothing like extremely terrifying, or nothing bad at all, or nothing like, oh God, that's what's happening? That shouldn't be happening. Like, nothing you guys need to worry about, really. I'm just trying to get my story out there. But I'm not exactly sure if this was actually a dream or if it really happened, because it seemed really real. It could have possibly just been a dream, and I probably like never walked out at all and was just laying in bed the whole entire time dreaming of all this while I was asleep. But it seems really real, and technically what happened was, this happened last month. And as you guys should know, I'm kind of a night owl sometimes. Like, I'll get my days and nights mixed up, as in I can't sleep during the night because my diabetes, it causes me, like when my blood sugar's off, I can't go to sleep or fall asleep at all. And also my autism and my other mental conditions make it difficult for me to fall asleep and get on a regular sleeping pattern, or whatever you want to call it, or sleeping schedule, whatever you want to call it. So I just remember being up all night and like tired of being in this apartment and everything, and wanted to get out. So and I remember what I was wearing. I was wearing my pair of red shorts, and I had no shirt on, because I actually never wear a shirt really that often. Very, very, very rarely I ever do. And I had my shoes on. I put my shoes on, and I had my bandana on the exact way I have it on right now. And I had my necklace on, and I always wear this. I had it on for 7 years, and I never take it off, but that's a whole nother story behind my necklace. And I went for a walk outside, and I didn't take my iPod or cell phone or anything. I did take my keys, but that was it. But I had them in my pocket. I went for a walk outside, and it was like 2 or 3 a.m. Now, the thing is, I never go for walks at 2 or 3 a.m. I never go for walks at night at all. Whenever I go for walks around the neighborhood, it's only during the daytime while the sun is up. Never late at night or any time at night when the sun's not up and you can't see everything. But what I remember from this instance, I did. And I just remember walking down the street, and I was walking to the park, and like at 3 a.m. This sounds crazy, but I felt kind of like I was being drawn there, like something like magnetic was pulling me there, like I had an urge to go there. It wasn't like impulse, like I lost control and was just going to the park, and like, why am I walking to the park? I don't want to go to the park. It wasn't like that at all, really, but it just felt like going to the park, and just really wanted to go to the park for some reason. And I walked to the park, and I walked down this bike trail that goes through the woods in the park, in this very wooded area. And I was walking down the bike trail, and what I remember most was everything was dead silent this whole entire time, from when I walked out of my apartment and was walking to the park. Like, everything was dead silent. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any wind. Didn't hear any cars go by. Didn't see any cars go by either, actually. And didn't hear any crickets or bugs or anything that you hear during the night. Everything was like this really dead silence, and like, I didn't notice it at that time, but remembering it, it was a little bit eerie, but it wasn't like scary at all, like chills up my spine, but it was a little bit unnatural and a bit eerie. I remember walking on the bike trail, and then like I started to slow down walking, and then I started hearing the sound of waves crashing on a beach. Like, it slowly faded in. I started hearing waves crashing, like the sound that waves make when they crash on a beach and you hear the water and everything. And I was like, okay, at that moment I stood there and I was like, what? Why the hell am I hearing that? What the hell is that? Cause this park was like very, very, very close to my apartment. It's like within walking distance. And I do, as I explained, I do live near a beach, but let me define near. The beach that I went to film that domino dancing music video, I'll have the link to that in the pinned comments. That beach is about 7 or 8 miles away from where I live. And you know, the park I was walking to is actually in the opposite direction that you take to head to the beach. But it's like a 2.5 hour bike ride from what I remember, because there's a lot of roads I have to twist and turn through. Either way, there's no way you would hear waves from crashing on a beach that's 7 miles away. There's no way you would hear that at all. And I was out there and I heard the waves and I was like, what is that? And it was dark, but the moonlight was like lighting everything up and the stars were lighting everything up, so I could still see like what was in front of me, just not too far ahead. So I turned off the bike trail I was walking on, the bike path, and I was like opening up the trees because I had to push some branches out of the way. And as I was opening up the branches and as I walked through all the trees and everything, I looked ahead and then I saw this huge beach right in front of me. It wasn't like the one from the Afterlife episode of Joe Winko Talk. No, it wasn't. It just looked like any normal beach, like right in front of me, but it was a really big and long beach, and I was like, what? And the waves were kind of big too, and I was like, and it was still night and everything, and I was like, what the hell is this doing out here? Because I knew the general area of where I was. Like, I know, like, okay, right here, this should be here. But, like, when I saw the beach there, I was like, what? This isn't here. This isn't supposed to be here. And, like, I was like, this is supposed to be here instead, not a beach. And I was, like, really confused, and I wasn't, like, freaked out or, like, freaking out at all. But I was just, like, really, like, okay, what the heck is going on? And I was looking, like, side by side like this, and I did that a couple times. But then, right then, I noticed this really, really, really tall figure standing in front of me. And, really tall, buff figure, but it was very surreal looking. And by surreal, I mean that it was, like it was like something out of a fantasy or something that was like unearthly and unnatural looking, like this tall man, this really tall and really muscular man. And he was standing like this, and he was standing really tall. He must have been like 10 or 12 or 15 feet tall, because he was a lot taller than I was. And he was holding a trident in his hand, and he had the beard and he had the crown on and everything, and he was holding a trident, and right when I saw the shape of the trident and everything, and the muscles and everything, I was like, and the crown, I was like, that's King Neptune. Right away I knew it was King Neptune, and I was just standing there, and I wasn't terrified at all. I wasn't like, oh my god, what the heck? I wasn't like that at all. But I will say this, it definitely was intimidating to see that, and it was definitely intimidating looking at that, because that's kind of a natural response from humans. When you see something that's really surreal and unnatural and like very abnormal, when you see that, or when people hear of something very unnatural and abnormal, that's something going on, like they have a natural response to be like kind of a bit alarmed or scared. It's like an instinct almost, kind of like how you guys probably feel hearing all this, what I'm saying. But as I said, don't be alarmed. But yeah, it did look very surreal, but I wasn't like afraid at all. I didn't feel like I was in danger or anything, and I wasn't scared of anything either. And now that I think of it, I'm actually planning on one day going to the park where I remember walking and where I remember seeing where this beach was and everything, and showing you guys what's actually there instead, because there's no beach in this area. Like, the beach is like 7 miles away. It's not here. And I remember looking at the figure, and it was like shadowy. Like, it wasn't a shadow itself, but like, you know when someone's standing in front of light and the light's behind them, and then you see them, like, it's just a shadow or silhouette of them, kinda. It wasn't like he was a pure silhouette, but, like, I could see, like, he was holding the Triton and everything. And I couldn't see his face, because, like, the shadow was covering up his face, because like, the moonlight was right behind him. But, I could tell that he was staring right at me, and I was just standing there, like, staring up at him right back, and I wasn't, like, afraid at all, didn't want to run away or anything, but I was like, it's King Neptune. That's what my gut was telling me, just like the sleep paralysis, like, when it was telling me it was the ghost of my biological father, I said, it's King Neptune. And, I stood there for some time, and, a short time, then I just slowly started walking up to him, because, I didn't know, because he was just standing there looking at me and, like, towering over me, and I was just slowly walking up to him, like, out of curiosity, like, saying, okay, why is he appearing right now? What's he gonna do? Is he gonna say anything? Is there something he needs to tell me at all? And I was just walking up to him. I didn't say anything. But next thing I knew, it wasn't like this happened, like, in an instant. I don't remember, like, because it all kind of went to a blur after that, kind of. Next thing I knew, I was on the sidewalk, on the way back to my apartment, already walking, and it's like I kind of just came to my senses, and then I saw myself, and then I was walking back to my apartment, and I was like, oh, I'm walking back to my apartment right now. And it was still night and everything, and I just remember feeling really tired, and I was hearing the crickets and everything. Everything was back to normal now. And, I was just feeling really tired, though, and then I went inside my apartment and locked the door and everything, and then I just went back to bed, and then I just remember going to bed and falling asleep, and then right then I woke up and it was daytime, finally. But yeah, I think I had a, that was definitely it was either a dream. If it wasn't a dream, and if I actually was walking around outside at 3 a.m., I think I was having a vision. Well, yeah, I was having a vision. I was having a vision, and I kind of realized it was a possibility while this was going on. Like, it wasn't like the first thing screaming at my mind, like, oh, this is probably from your schizophrenia. But, like, it was kind of, like, off to the side, like, okay, this may be a vision caused by schizophrenia, or, like the psychiatrist said one of the psychiatrists thought you might have. But, as I said, my current psychiatrist does not think I have schizophrenia, and I was never diagnosed with it at all. She just thinks, what she believes is that my autism causes me to have a very, very strong imagination, and sometimes, like, the imagination is so powerful that it appears to be real for me. That's what she said. And I think that's most likely the case, the strong imagination and everything. Because I remember I was thinking about King Neptune a lot prior to that. I was thinking of him a lot that day and everything, and as what I just described to you too. And I'm also pretty sure that people can have visions without having schizophrenia as well, so yeah, because I heard of some people who are able to, like, summon visions of stuff by using this technique or something, and it's pretty interesting stuff, but I didn't really look into that, and that's a whole other topic. However, that's not the only time that happened, and it's not the first time either. And as I said, that happened last month, like back in August. The vision of me walking to the park and seeing King Neptune at the beach late at night, the beach that isn't actually there at all. But there's this dream I had. I know for sure this was a dream. And this happened back in May of 2017, this year. And it was a month after the psychic told me that I was going to be killed by the tornado out in the forest in North Carolina. I did a whole episode of Joe Winko talk about that too. I'll have a link to it in the pinned comments. But this was the dream I had, and this is the first thing I remember from it, and I'm going to describe the last thing I remember from it. It wasn't like I went to bed, then this happened, and then I woke up. It was more like, you know how dreams are, you don't remember everything from them. The first thing I remember from this dream is everything was black and I couldn't see anything, but I heard this like really loud and violent roaring noise, and this really loud roaring noise everywhere, and it was like this wind and this violent storm and wind, and then eventually it just kind of like faded out, like it was moving farther and farther away from me, and then afterwards I I slowly got my vision back, and I couldn't really tell. I was looking around and I saw that I was in a forest. Well, what was a forest. Like, everything was like really ripped apart and destroyed. Like, the trees were all twisted. A lot of trees, like in the distance, were still standing because it must have looked like a massive forest. But around my general area, like, trees were broken, everything was snapped and everything. Like this picture. However, the only difference is it was dark. Like, not like pitch black moonlight dark, but it was dark. It wasn't like 100% light yet. Like, the sun was coming up. It was like the sun was rising, but I didn't see the sun. I just saw the light in the sky and the dark orange. Like, it's like a dark twilight, but I could tell that it was a sunrise for some reason. And I remember what I saw in front of me. Soon I noticed this tall figure, the exact same tall figure I saw on the beach in the vision I told you guys. And I remember seeing him. It was like a shadow because he was facing, like, the light was behind him, and I remember seeing the figure and everything. I couldn't see his face at all. And I remember seeing him. He was buff and had the muscles, very muscular, very tall man, 10 to 15 feet. And he had the crown on and the beard. And I could see the shape of the beard. And he was holding the trident in his hand, and he was standing up, and I could tell he was looking down on me. And I could tell he was looking me right in the eye. And he wasn't like right directly in front of me, like not like he wasn't like all up in my face or anything. He was like 10 or something feet away from me. But I could see him, and I could tell he was looking at me. And then, like, I was looking at him, and I was getting up, because it seemed like I was laying down, but I was getting up. But the thing is, I didn't really feel myself at all. Like, you know, when you're in a dream, and, like, you fall down, and you pick yourself up, and it actually feels like you're pushing on the ground and pushing yourself up? I wasn't feeling that. It was like, I could tell that I was doing it though, but I wasn't feeling myself do it at all. And I was like looking at him, and I knew it was King Neptune right away because I saw the crown and I saw the trident, and I was looking closely at it, and then again it went to a blur, and next thing I remember after that, I woke up in my bed and I was thinking, oh, that was King Neptune. And, yeah, so, and then I knew that it was just a dream, really. But I want to set a couple things straight. Now, I don't feel that I'm suffering at all. I'm, like, yeah, I do have my mental conditions, all of them, but I don't feel like I'm suffering at all. Like, oh, this is terrible, I want it to stop, why is this going on? No, It's not like sleep paralysis. I already know how to handle sleep paralysis. I'm not worried about that. I actually like seeing King Neptune. I've always been fascinated by King Neptune, and yeah, I actually really like King Neptune a lot. I always loved King Neptune, actually. And yeah, he definitely is intimidating whenever I have the visions of him or the dreams of him. But I don't have any negative or fears of him or anything. Like, it's not like I'm thinking, oh, what if I might see him again? No, it's not like that at all. But it is a bit, like, intimidating. Like, when you're shy of something, but just like that. Nothing like, oh god, this guy is huge and scary. He's probably gonna rip me apart or something. No, it's not like that at all. He definitely wouldn't do anything like that. He's not evil at all. He's definitely not evil. He's an ally. Definitely an ally. And you know, I kind of feel like in a way he's kind of an angel, really, because I feel that he's the one who will guide me back to reunite me with my Uncle Romario again when my time on Earth is finally up. And I feel that God is sending him to tell me that, to let me know that what I thought and what I believed is actually true and that it will happen. Um, but as I said, I still have a lot of stuff to do on this Earth first, so I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And another thing I want to set straight is I never hear voices at all or anything. Like, some people get scared when they think of people with schizophrenia or think of people who see stuff like this or have experiences like this because they think that we're homicidal maniacs and they think eventually we're going to start hearing voices telling us to murder people and everything. But not me. Not me at all. I don't hear voices telling me to murder people at all. I never do. I never have either. And even if I ever did, I wouldn't listen to those at all because I'm aware that it could just be my mind playing tricks on me and I would recognize it right away. Like, as I said, like, if I would have saw something really terrifying and really evil, like, I would have knew it was just my mind playing tricks on me right away, just like the sleep paralysis. Well, I definitely think the sleep paralysis, I actually definitely do think those are really caused by the ghost of my biological father, but I'm not afraid of him at all. He can't do anything. He's dead, and he's rotting in a grave right now, exactly where trash like him belongs. But, yeah, and, another thing regarding the visions and everything, here's another explanation for it all. This year, I've been spending a lot of time by myself because, as you all know, I used to live with my adoptive parents, but we weren't getting along at all, and it's not because of this stuff, because I never had anything like this intense back then. But it's not because of this stuff. Me and my adoptive parents always had a rocky relationship because they goofed up on a lot of stuff during my life and caused a lot of pain throughout my life. And what happened is, like, they didn't want me living with them anymore. I didn't want to live with them either, but they really didn't want me. I never wanted to live with them in the first place, but I had no other options. But they really didn't want me living with them, so they put me out into this apartment, my own apartment, and I've been here since October of 2016. I live here by myself. No one else lives with me, and I've been here for almost a year. But I will be leaving very soon to go live down south with my adoptive parents' relatives, which I'm actually very excited for. But my point is, this stuff only happens when I'm alone. Like, stuff like this only happens when I'm by myself for a while, for a really long time. That's when this only happens. Like, with the sleep paralysis, that never happened with anyone else. Like, when I lived with my uncle, I never had sleep paralysis. If I'm spending the night with a guy I'm hooking up with on Craigslist, I never have visions or sleep paralysis of anything like that. And yeah, the visions of the tornado I saw at Walmart, yeah, that did happen. That did happen in a public place, but that happened very, very early in the morning, like around 5 a.m. because I walked out to Walmart because I wanted to get some food because I was hungry, and there were people there, but not many people at all. Like, very few people were there. There were people there, but very few. And also, they were all, like, very far away from me. Like, you know how people walk by and, like, don't even notice you or say hi or anything? They were all, like, very, very far away from me, really. And I didn't really notice them that much because of that. And once I saw the tornado while I was walking out. Like, everyone was far away from me at that point. But I saw the tornado. I had the vision of the tornado while I was getting ready to leave the store after I paid for all my stuff and was walking far away from the counter and everything. And I only saw it for a brief couple seconds, really, and it was coming right for the place. It was just a vision and everything, and I got freaked out. And right when I reacted to that and started like screaming and got scared and everything, people started noticing me, and I started noticing that they were noticing me, and I got their attention and they caught my attention. And right then it all ended. I didn't see it at all. And it all stopped once that all happened. And plus another thing to keep in mind, I was awake for more than 48 hours when that happened because, as you all know, as I explained earlier in this video, my autism and my diabetes and all my other conditions caused me to have a tough time falling asleep. And also, I was trying to fix my sleeping schedule because whenever I stay up late, I try to drink a bunch of 5-hour energies so I stay awake during the day so I can fall asleep at night. That's what I did at that time. And the 5-hour energies, yeah, they kept me awake during the day, but then when the night came, my body was probably trained to go to sleep during the day and didn't want to fall asleep at night, and I was like, what the heck? So then the next day I tried the 5-hour energies again, and then the next morning I was still awake for like more than 48 hours straight, and then this happened. And then that happened, actually, what I explained in that Dead Man Walking episode of Joe Winko Talk. And, but yeah, that's what it was. And another thing to keep in mind, with my autism and all my other conditions, when I'm alone, my mind seems to wander off, and I seem to get into deep thought about certain stuff. Like when I'm alone and have nothing else to like occupy me or nothing else. Like I have a very, 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 very active mind. An incredibly active mind, an incredibly active imagination. I'm always thinking of random stuff, always imagining random stuff. And when I'm alone and I have no one interacting with me at all or anything, my mind definitely does wander. It wanders either way, like even if I have someone, but not nearly as much when I'm alone. And my mind always seems to wander very easily. That's also caused by the ADHD in me also. And I also get sidetracked very easily. Like if someone's texting me, because I never like texting at all. If someone wants to text me and I don't reply to their text, like I'll hear my phone ring and I'll think, okay, I'll reply to it after I do this. And then eventually I forget that should reply to that, and I don't reply to the text at all. And then I reply, because I'm notorious for, one thing about me, I'm notorious for taking a long time to reply to text, which is exactly why I prefer for people to call me instead, so I can just give you my undivided attention, and so we can just talk to each other and just converse back and forth. That's the way I prefer it, really. However, even then, sometimes I might get sidetracked, but far, far, far less frequently if I'm talking to someone on the phone or on Skype or anything. Far less frequently. And, you know, in 2017, I spend a lot of time alone. A lot of time alone, especially when I moved in here. There's days will pass and I never hear from anyone else from the outside world, really. Well, probably like from stuff I read online, but that doesn't really count as anything. It's just a bunch of texts and a bunch of pictures and a bunch of words, really. But I spend a ton of time by myself, and you know, 2017 was the year I found out how far my mind can actually wander when I'm alone, and how far my mind can wander when I'm by myself, and the effects it has too, which were interesting, but still, I mean, even though they're not really that bad, still, it's kind of strange. And as I said, I am a recluse. That's what I call myself, really, and the definition for recluse definitely fits me as well. And I always say in my YouTube videos and stuff I post online that I prefer it that way. And as I said, I'm definitely not a normal 20 or 21-year-old. Even deep down inside, I'm definitely not a normal 21-year-old. I don't go out to bars. I don't hang out with a whole bunch of friends. I don't throw wild parties. I don't go to wild parties. I don't like going to nightclubs or dancing at nightclubs or any of that. I get bored because I don't like the loud music. I don't like being around a whole bunch of people, and I feel like I don't need many friends. But, you know, deep down inside, I don't really like being alone. That's the thing. And I always knew that, but it's not that I never had the guts to say it, but I just never really thought of saying that for real, really, that I don't really like being alone. And that's another thing. People who suffer from mental illnesses, well, I don't really suffer from them, but people who have mental conditions, that's what I should call them instead, mental conditions, not mental illness. People who have mental conditions, they are very lonely, a lot, really. They definitely are. I definitely am. This year has definitely been a lonely year. Not entirely, but it definitely has been. 2017. But, well, even all years before that have even been lonely. Even before I even knew my uncle, been lonely. But in all honesty, here I go again. In all honesty, I always wanted one friend, a man, who I could spend all my time with, and he wouldn't have to be with me like all the time, like 24/7. He wouldn't have to do that. But like I would be fine. Like if he had to like go off somewhere for a couple hours, like to work, whatever, and then come back, I'd be fine with that. But I also, in addition to that, I also wanted a man who would, a male who would also interact with me and like talk to me a lot and be affectionate. Like he wouldn't have to say anything, but like just like if he sees me sitting there, just walk up to me and put his arms around my shoulders or anything, or kiss me on the neck or any of that stuff, really. But I'm not going to go into too far detail on that because you guys heard enough, and I already explained that in my what I look for in a guy episode of Joe Winko Talk. I'll have the link to that in the pinned comments in case you guys haven't seen that and you guys want to check that out for yourself. That's a completely different topic from what I'm discussing right now. Well, it does definitely have something to do with it because it is about myself. However, I will be moving down south pretty soon, and I'm actually going to be living with 3 other people. Like, people think of with my adoptive parents, relatives, they think like a whole bunch of people I'm going to be living with. No, just 3 other people. All of them are adults. All of them are a lot older than I am. Well, I shouldn't say that. They are older than I am, but they're not like elders or anything. Gosh. And, I'm very excited for that, and no, they're not gonna be hugging and kissing on me, no, and I don't want them to either, yeah, I am really excited. They will be interacting with me and stuff, definitely, I guess, and, well, and just knowing that they're there, yeah, I'm not gonna be alone or have visions at all or anything, because even when I know someone's there, none of that stuff happens at all, and, yeah, but they're always like on the go and out on the move, like doing a lot of random stuff, and they like have to like head to different places, and they're not going to be there most of the time. Sometimes they're going to be gone for days. One of them's going to be gone for days. Sometimes all 3 of them might be gone at the same time for a long time, and I might not see any of them for a while I'm living there. But you know, that's okay, and I still will be alone sometimes, but not nearly as alone as I am right now. And I'm actually really happy about that, really. Absolutely. And because, you know, living by yourself, it isn't exactly all that it's cracked up to be, really. Yeah, it does have its ups. It definitely does have its ups and downs, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be, really. And, another thing is, that's another reason why I've been posting so much gloomy stuff, like back to back, in my episodes of Joe Winko Talk, because I want to get it all out there, and plus I'm going to be moving away to live with my relatives down south pretty soon, and I think it would be very strange for me to be talking about this out loud and recording it out loud so they could hear me in a house full of other people who can hear everything I'm talking about, because it would be very strange and very awkward to say it while they're there. Like, I don't care if they know about all this stuff. Well, in a way, they actually do know about it, actually, now that I think of it. But I don't. Well, yeah, they know about it. Well, I don't care if they know this stuff at all, and I don't care that they know this stuff. And because, as you all know, I do not hold anything back. I am an open book. I want all my colors, all my pages to show. And, you know, in all honesty, this may sound kind of twisted to some people, but I'm actually proud of everything. Really, like, proud of everything I said, even in this video, in a way, and proud of what I believe in and everything. And as I said, there is not one thing I would change about myself, ever. Well, yeah, I do kind of wish my bandana looked more symmetric and stand up more evenly, as you guys noticed as I kept adjusting it in this video. But besides that, there's not one thing I would ever change about myself, ever, because I'm proud of myself, proud of what I am, proud of how I am, and proud of how God made me, and proud of what God gave me, and proud of what God didn't really give me. Yeah, I'm proud of that. Like, in terms of myself, yeah, definitely. So, that's basically it for this episode of Joe Winko Talk. And oh yeah, another thing, I think everyone else should feel the same way also. That's another point I want to get out there too. I don't really say that enough now that I think of it. But that's it for this episode of Joe Winko Talk. So please comment, let me know what you think about all this. Did you find it interesting? Was it fun to listen to? Did you ever have any similar experiences to this at all, or everything? And yeah, that's basically it. And don't worry, I won't judge at all unless you say something mean about me. I won't judge at all. So yeah, that's it. So don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And that's it. So, peace out, people.